They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, it can't get any tougher for Team South Africa. 3 matches played in the World Cup and 3 lost. 1 more loss going their way and their chances of crashing out of the World Cup increase ever so more. And now, of course, they are facing a team that has found its oomph, man. The Caribbean, man. They've brought the flavor back to the World Cup in 2019. I'm joined by Daren Ganga. First and foremost, did I impress you with that impression?
Yes, man, I think you've done that.
Thank you so much, Daren. Straight away, just before we get into what's happening on the field, you have to talk about what's happening off the field with South Africa. 3 losses, three games lost, and then comes the whole AB de Villiers situation. You, as the opposition camp, are you licking your wounds now and saying, I want to play that game straight away?
I think you would think that you have an advantage because of the turmoil. Not only what is happening on the field, they've had a couple injuries to their main players. Lungidi and Gidi, Dale Steyn, 2 big bowlers in this South African squad, and a batting lineup that is not performing. Their senior players, yes, they're getting starts, but no one going on to get big scores. So in all departments of the game, they're lacking, they're subpar. If I was a member of that West Indian team that is coming up against South Africa, you would be thinking that you have an advantage, which is the form that you've shown against Pakistan, winning there, and then a narrow defeat to Australia where you competed and you showed intent and you really announced to the rest of teams that, hey, listen, we're here to compete to win this title. So I think the West Indies will start with the psychological advantage against South Africa. But when you look at this South African team on paper, you would say it's a quality team still. And if they turn up on the day and they play a good game of cricket, they can beat any opposition. So yes, whilst I think we're talking about what is happening in and around this South African team, they still pose a serious threat against the West Indies.
Well, let's talk about the threat West Indies pose to South Africa. You're playing 11 from that game versus Australia. Any changes?
Well, I'm suggesting one change, and that's a change in the bowling department. We've had Carlos Brathwaite being a member of the team for the first 2 matches. I'm suggesting that they can possibly go with a specialist bowler. And the reason why I'm saying that, it's on 2 fronts. One, I don't think the formula with 3 all-rounders work for the West Indies. We've seen that used in the past, and that has not produced consistent results for the team. You look and see the players in this team. You look at Andre Russell, who seems to be unfit. He can't bowl a full complement of 10 overs, so you need someone to be able to make up that shortfall. A specialist bowler in that of Shannon Gabriel or Kemar Roach might be the answer. We're not sure as to the fitness of Shannon Gabriel because for the first couple of matches, we were told that he was not fit. So that's why I'll lean more to Kemar Roach because he's got experience. Both Roach and Gabriel, they've only played 1 one-day international against South Africa in the past. So fairly new sort of equation for South Africa's batting. I say again, I was surprised that they left out Darren Bravo and brought in Evan Lewis. I mean, a lot of people are talking about Darren Bravo's form. When he played that triangular series in Ireland just prior to the start of the World Cup, he batted for 5 innings, had 2 not outs, but he didn't really score many runs in those 3 innings there. But I still think that you don't want to be shifting and changing too early in this World Cup because himself, Evan Lewis, are the 2 specialist batsmen in this West Indian side. So one has to cover for the other, but you want to keep them in a mental state where they can perform. So making that early change after a win against Pakistan and leaving Darren Bravo out, I didn't advocate that. But now that Evan Lewis is there, he didn't perform in that last game against Australia, but I will persist with him.
Let's just show you some numbers as far as Evan Lewis is concerned. And it's a worrying trend, Daren. Of course, if you look at those numbers, year 2016 averaged 44.8. Year 2017, he's got more than 500 runs, averaging 32 with the bat. 2018, it's dropped 274 to 27.4. What's changed in the game there?
It's a downward spiral, you would say. And I think the same direction Darren Bravo's batting is heading in terms of his average. He's just on about 30 right now with 3 one-day international centuries. I think you look at what has happened in West Indian cricket and you would say there are lots of off-the-field issues which would have contributed to that. I'm not making any excuses for both players, but I think that has not helped our players preparing mentally for this World Cup. Darren Bravo had that running in with the former president of the board, Evan Lewis. He's been out of this one-day setup in the last series against Bangladesh, only brought back in for the series against England. So they've not played consistently at the international level for the West Indies. So that may be a contributing factor to their form. But in terms of potential, in terms of ability, very good players. When you look at these players in the context of Caribbean cricket and West Indian cricket, you would think they are two of the best talented batsmen in the Caribbean. So a lot of people are expecting that they will perform, but I think with the moving and chopping and changing, it doesn't help a batsman, especially when you're searching for form.
Now, at the start of the show, when I was describing the West Indies, I said they've brought the oomph back. And part of that oomph coming back into their game has been the short stuff and the way they're using the line to cramp the batsman. And the short stuff they've been pretty consistent with it. Can we see them going forward with that versus South Africa as well? Short, good line, cramp the batsman and get them out.
Indeed, the formula has worked. It has worked against Pakistan. It's worked against Australia. They were 5 down in quick time. I think it's the impact bowlers in this West Indian side, being aggressive, being consistent. You think of Andre Russell, you think of Sheldon Cottrell and O'Shane Thomas. Well, he just continues in his sort of development as a young fast bowler. But it's the supporting bowlers, they need to contribute as well. So that is a department that is going well for the West Indies. They need to get their batting right.
Albie Morkel, thank you so much for joining us on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day UK 2019. Building up to that game versus the West Indies, Albie, are you making any changes to your playing 11 for this one?
I don't think so. I think the team they selected for the last one is possibly the best 11 they can put on the field with two frontline spinners. Now they flew over Bjorn Hendricks. He might be a little bit short of match practice, so I'd go for the guys that's there. And I think the combination they rolled out against India was pretty good. They got comprehensively beaten by India, but I do believe that I'm speaking specifically of the bowling attack, will give Faf a few more options to attack with against the West Indian players.
Albie, they're saying there's a bit of an injury concern with Rassie van der Dusen. If that is the case, does Markram come in for you in the playing 11 then?
No, definitely. I think Rassie injured his groin is something against India. I'm not sure what the update is, whether he'll be fit or not. But sometimes those type of injuries can keep you out for a week or so. So if it comes to that, I think Markram will definitely slot back into possibly that number 3 slot again with Faf and everyone moving one down. He's the perfect player to replace him, and it will be a bad thing because I think Rassie has done, under the circumstances, he's actually done pretty well, batting-wise. He hasn't got a big score yet, but he's the one guy that seems to be working the ball around and trying to get the innings together in all the games so far.
But they do have Hashem Amla, who hasn't had the best of form in the World Cup so far. Though if you look at his record versus the West Indies, he has a pretty brilliant record versus the team from the Caribbean. You take a look at his record, of course, this is his career comparison in ODIs. Overall, he's got about 7,920 runs, averaging close to 50. Since 2018, his runs have become 548. The average has dropped to 32.23. What do you suppose has changed for Hashem Amla?
Yes, I don't know. It's so difficult to answer that question. Hashem is obviously a world great, and he will be forever. He's been struggling for quite a while now. I think it's almost 18 months where he's not the Hashem that we know. And sometimes players like that, it's just a flick of a switch, and they get one lucky 4 through the covers or through the slips, and they go and score big runs again. Hashem has been struggling, like I said, for a long period of time now. He gets the odd score every now and again, but consistently, he's not producing to the level that he would be happy with.
Albie, just very quickly before we let you go, Imran Tahir, and how crucial will he be to that game versus the West Indies, given that the Windies are not the best when it comes to playing against spin bowling?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's why I would pick Shamsi as well. I think in tandem they can really take a few wickets. That's important. They must use the spinners as attacking options. Doesn't help them going 10 overs 0 for 45. They must really, between them, try and take 5 or 6 wickets. So that's going to be important. Imran Tahir has been a fantastic player for South Africa ever since he started playing one-day cricket for South Africa. And you know, him and Shamji, if they can link up, they can be a dangerous wicket-taking combination for South Africa. So they're going to be very important. Like you said, the West Indian players do struggle against spin. So hopefully the wicket that they play on can help them a bit to take wickets.
Albie, Morkel, thank you so much for your time and your analysis. It was a pleasure as always. You, of course, guys, were watching ESPN Cricinfo Match Day as we were building up to the big one, South Africa versus West Indies. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section below. Click on the bell icon for notifications.